adding clothing to their chests and shoulders while reportedly leaving male swim team and sports photos unchanged. The school district telling our local Fox affiliate the edited photos were, quote, deemed in violation of the student code of conduct, but saying it will offer refunds to any parents who complain about the issue.
I mean, here's my thing about this, right? I get it's not a huge deal, but it's always the girls, you know? Like, stop policing the girls so heavily and what they're wearing. You know, this is something you experience a lot in this country, whether it's in school, internships. Everybody is always trying to police what you wear. And I feel like to do this to a bunch of kids this old in their yearbook photo where they clearly took time, you know, to care about how they look is infuriating. She looked great. Leave the damn photo. That's how I feel.
You know I'm not weighing in on this. You know.
Sorry for sharing an opinion there, but I just kind of got my goat.
I love it. Keep going.
Let's actually move on. We've got Joe Concha here. The mainstream media is doing an about-face after dismissing the Wuhan lab leak theory as a fringe conspiracy theory when the Trump administration first raised it last year. Here's a look at some of the headlines now, rejecting the possibility of the Wuhan lab being the original source of the outbreak, while mocking those journalists who wanted a closer look at the evidence. Here he is, as promised, Joe Concha. He's a Fox News contributor, also a media and politics columnist for The Hill. Joe, here's the first question. So there was this initial tidal wave in the mainstream media of resistance to the lab leak theory. Now, a year and a half-ish later, now that a lot of public health officials have waded into these waters and said this is a possibility that needs more investigation, the media tide is turning and everybody is heralding these outlets as, you know, coming up with this new ingenious information. But folks like John Roberts here and Bret Baier have been reporting on it for over a year.
It is remarkable that in February of 2020, right, when we first started hearing the word coronavirus on our TV screens, reading about it in our newspapers, we had major American media outright dismissing, say, for instance, Senator Tom Cotton, Republican, Arkansas, who said that he believed that this came from a lab in Wuhan. The president at the time, in Donald Trump, had said the same thing, and obviously these people have access to perhaps classified information that would point them in that direction. And they were, to your point, dismissed as conspiracy theorists by the New York Times, by the Washington Post, by CNN. It didn't matter. And the thing is, in February of 2020, when we're just learning about this virus, and journalists were kicked out of China, you remember, Jillian, so no one's on the ground to verify this. How did somebody, or how did these news organizations come to a definitive conclusion when we didn't know what we didn't know? So, yeah, it was a rough to judgment once again. And yeah, thank you. And by the way, I would love to get my Facebook, or at least my yearbook photo edited completely now, if that's possible. I had a big skin problem back then.
Yeah. If you got to choose how it was edited, fine. All right, so take a listen to this from former New York Times investigative reporter Nicholas Wade.
Up until now, there has been no pressure on the Chinese at all to unlock the records of Wuhan Institute of Virology because almost all the Western media has bought the natural emergence theory.
So now, but then just yesterday, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki confirmed that, guess what, the White House is still waiting for the underlying data from the Chinese government. Take a listen.
But with 589,920 dead Americans, at what point does President Biden say, we don't want to wait for the WHO, we don't know what they're doing?
Well, first of all, we need access to the underlying data and information in order to have that investigation.
So they're still waiting on information before they can even think about an investigation.
Yeah,
we're further
and they'll be
behind
waiting
than
a
we
long
thought.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jets will win a Super Bowl before we get this information or anything close to it anytime soon. And the big question, when you look back on all this, Jillian, is why did the U.S. media believe at face value the World Health Organization, and by extension, because basically what China told the World Health Organization is what the World Health Organization told the world. In other words, the Chinese Communist Party said, nope, this came from a wet market blocks away from this lab. It didn't come from a lab. And that was the end of it. And we all took it, not we all, but many in this industry took it at face value. How could you believe the Chinese Communist Party? This isn't like the second coming of Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson as far as being truth tellers. So how we did that again and just took stock in what a government was saying as opposed to verifying, which could take some time, that's the big issue here.
So I want to switch gears here real quick, make sure we get you in on this before I let you go. Okay. Look at this headline from the New York Times op-ed columnist Michelle Goldberg. She says, attacks on Jews over Israel are a gift to the right. So what she's saying essentially this morning is that a lot of American Jews who don't support, she's getting at the crux of this issue when it comes to American Jews being critical of the Israeli government and Benjamin Netanyahu and trying to make a nuanced argument about, you know, opposing Netanyahu doesn't make you an anti-Semite. What do you think about that?
Well, you're seeing American Jews being beaten in the streets in New York, Los Angeles, Illinois. It does not matter. And to say that, well, this is now going to hurt the argument as far as Palestinian rights and what Hamas is doing, it is an utterly ridiculous argument. And look, anti-Semitism and any attacks on any American Jews or any Americans in general, that's something like puppy mills and cancer. Everybody can get behind in condemning. And I don't think this is a time for nuanced arguments. Just speak out against that, these beatings, and then don't try to say, well, this is going to hurt the Palestinian cause. It's a very awkward and clumsy way to do it, Jillian. Yeah.
All right. Well, Joe, thanks for weighing in on our hot topics today. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Send along your yearbook photo, by the way. I want to see what this thing's all about.
It's coming. Just wait. It'll be there soon.
We'll trade. Quid pro quo. Not a problem. Thank you.
I bet Joe had the same haircut when he was in his yearbook photos.
I bet he looks the same. He still looks young.
A new COVID outbreak sweeping through Japan could put the Tokyo Olympics in jeopardy again with just 8 weeks to go. A live report on that coming up next on America Reports.